Board Member Anderson,
Here.
Board Member Black,
Here.
Board Member 6,
Here.
Board Member Sovereign.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you, and we will go into general business, and item A is the 2025 election of chair and vice chair. This will be postponed into the next full board meeting when all board members are present. Board Member Noon is absent today, and Board Member Whalen will be arriving shortly. So for today's meeting, and the purpose of continuity, staff recommends that the previous chair acts as the chair for today's meeting. So if Chair Anderson is okay with that and the other board members, that is okay. So I will hand it over to you.
Okay, so we will move on to, can we go to item C, or should we do item B?
If you can just read item B, and then we'll postpone that also.
Okay, so item B is the appointment of consent review representatives and subcommittees, and we will also postpone that to the next full board meeting. And we'll move on to item C for public comment. So any member of the public may address the board for up to 2 minutes on any subject within its jurisdiction that is not on today's agenda.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for general public comment. If anyone wishes to make a comment for general public comment, they may fill out a slip and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, and we did not receive any written correspondence for general public comment. So at that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Thank you. We will close the general public comment and move on to item D, the approval of the minutes from the meeting on December 9th, the full board meeting.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, let's take a vote.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. We'll take a vote. Chair Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Black?
Yes.
Board Member Noon? Excuse me, Board Member 6?
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, let's move on to item E, approval of the minutes from the consent meeting on December 9th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Black?
Yes.
Board Member 6?
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, item F, ratification of action item on the consent calendar of December 16th.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. The items reviewed on December 16th were item A, 1298 Las Positas Road, and that was continued indefinitely to consent. And item B, 2941 State Street, that received project design approval and final approval with the condition that the 4 windows with the 2 flanking casements shall have an internal middle mullion. Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion for ratification?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, let's take a vote for the ratification.
Chair Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Black?
Yes.
Board Member 6?
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, item G, any announcements, requests by applicants for continuances and withdrawals, future agenda items, or appeals?
No announcements today.
Okay, and any subcommittee reports? Probably not. Okay. Let's move on to the first item, This is a new item for project design approval. 308 West Montecito Street. It's a proposal for 6 two-story duplexes for a total of 12 new residential units with 12 bicycle parking spaces. No automobile parking spaces are proposed per AB 2097. The existing site is developed with a parking lot and no structures. Project is proposed under the city's average unit density incentive program and state density bonus law. The average unit size is 737 square feet, and 2 low-income and 1 moderate-income restricted units are proposed. Density bonus concessions for open yard, mechanical equipment, and mechanical screening requirements are requested. Project design approval is requested. Project requires compliance with the project compatibility findings and urban design guidelines. All right, is the applicant here?
And a few staff comments before
Yes.
the applicant presents and introduces themselves. And I'd also like to add a few things after we receive in-person public comment. But before the presentation, I'd just like to clarify that the project is here for project design approval. It was deemed complete, so it's ready for project design approval today. And there was a previous project that was approved at this site and the neighboring site 302 and 308 West Montecito that was approved by ABR and the Planning Commission for a 32-unit hotel. And that application was allowed to remain active while the applicant explored housing on these 2 sites. But with them moving forward with these housing applications, they will be required to withdraw that application for the hotel project. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then after the presentation and public comment, I can clarify the questions that were received in the public comment letter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board before we get going?
Yeah, I have a question for the staff. Given the makeup of this particular project and its roof, it's hipped roofs, is there any minimum requirement for area to be available for photovoltaic systems?
I will look into that during the presentation and answer that after.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the land development team that approved this and got it to here, did that include Marburg's trash access?
Yes, that was reviewed by Environmental Services.
All right, thank you.
Just for clarity, like the application's complete, which means that it's gone through all the process. So like we're good on everything then.
Yes.
From a zoning and
Yeah.
city standard requirements, yes, but ABR has
Great.
to make the project compatibility findings.
Thank you.
Wanted to verify that.
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question? So as part of the application, is there a requirement to provide site photographs? Because I don't remember seeing any when I looked online here.
Yes, that is required.
Okay. But we have them now? But we didn't have them online? for
If
me
they
to
were
look
not incorporated in the plan set, I will pull them up separately. My apologies if they weren't included in the
at?
plan set.
I could do Google Earth, and I did, but it's kind of nice
It's
to have it
required.
part of a set.
Yeah,
And it
that is,
required, so-
yes. Mhm. Yeah,
So
my
my notes.
mistake on that one.
Thank
They
you.
most likely uploaded. Okay,
Yeah, there's a separate PDF that's not on here for some reason.
okay. Turn your mic on and introduce yourself, and you got 15 minutes.
Hello, my name is Lonnie Roy. I'm the agent for the property owner. So the site photographs aren't included on here, so I guess I'll just start with the plan set. Yeah. So the subject property is 308 West Montecito. Is approximately 10,000 square foot lot. It is in the shape of an L with frontages on West Montecito Street and frontages on Bath Street. This corner property is 302 West Montecito Street, so that's not a part of this project. Currently it's just developed as a parking lot. There are a few existing trees. There's a eucalyptus tree over here on this portion of the property. There are some palm trees along the Montecito Street frontage, and then there's existing street tree along the Bath Street frontage. And if you'll recall from the previous application, there are a few encroachments from the property to the north. Particularly, there are 2 wall elements and their dry utilities are located on the subject property, not included in an easement area. So we are proposing to clear the site with the exception of those encroachments along the northerly property line and construct 3.
Did I hit something? I don't think I did.
Sort of. There we go. I know. They construct 3 duplexes. I would say the inspiration for this site was when we look at the neighborhood context, it's mostly 1 or 2 story structures. The structure to the north, those are 1 story. Structure to the west, that's 1 story. I'll point out on 302 West Montecito Street, there are 2 special accessory dwelling units proposed, so those are single story. 302 is 2 story. If you'll recall, across the street, 311 West Montecito, which was approved, that's 2 story. The commercial center next to it's 2 story. So context is just 1 and 2 stories, so we kind of wanted to fit with that existing neighborhood context. And the architecture is mixed throughout the community. So there's, I would say like half of it is Spanish, or maybe a little bit more of it is Spanish, and then the other half is kind of just wood siding, kind of non-descriptive architecture. So on this, we decided to go with a Spanish architectural theme and took inspiration from the kind of traditional garden court kind of typology. Obviously, the site doesn't lend itself to be a court per se, but that was kind of the inspiration for the architecture. So there are 5 buildings that are kind of within that vein, very similar in their architectural style and massing, similar to what you would find in those garden court typologies, with 1 building that's a little bit more unique in the rear corner. So each of the buildings that face the street have a direct entrance to the ground floor unit to interact with the street, and the remainder of the units are accessed through a common walkway around the perimeter. So from Montecito Street, that is along the eastern property line. On the northerly portion of the lot, there are walkways on either side. The walkway on the north, if you'll recall, the neighbor to the north had concern about emergency egress from her residential units onto our property. So that access is kind of maintained, or that concern is maintained through this project. The trash enclosure is located at the center of the site, at the rear corner, integrating with the architecture with a 6-foot plaster wall. The bike racks or bike lockers are dispersed throughout the site and try to be located near the entries. So they're mostly in clusters of 2. So you'll see 2 in between this building, 2 in between this building, 2 here, 1 there, 3 there, and 2 there. Heat pumps are located along the building perimeters. So you'll see them along this common walkway for each of these buildings here. This building has them located here, here, and here. And I'll clarify kind of the screening requirement. There is I believe it was a 5-foot setback that they needed to be if a property was used entirely for residential purposes, which this property is. So these would have needed a 5-foot setback, which is not being provided. And this property owner owns both properties. So at this time, they're not proposing to do a property line fence along this common property line, which is why the concession is requested for the screening. Another idea of kind of doing the detached duplexes versus combining them and doing 4-plexes or 5-plexes, something like that, is we thought this added additional opportunity for light and air and some small private open yard areas, even though we were asking for a concession on that. So going on to the architecture, so they're relatively simple structures, simple boxes. What you'll notice, what changes from the 5 duplexes that are more or less the same plan, is some of the window changes where you have private patios from adjacent buildings. So that's why you'll see some high windows versus the full height windows. And the roof patterns change a little bit, and the second floor entries change a little bit. So this would be the Montecito entrance. That's the entry alcove to the ground floor unit. And you can see the upper floor unit has a different entry than the upper floor unit on the next adjacent building. So there are some rotations and mirroring to have them not quite appear the same. So this is the building in the corner. So that's the one kind of unique building. It's a little bit narrower, but shares kind of that hip roof that a lot of the buildings have. Similar architectural detailing to some of the other buildings. And so this would be the building that faces Bass Street.
I'm sorry, which one?
This one here, building. And then moving on. So this is a spec sheet of what the bike lockers are, but they're kind of inset in, so they're not prominent on the architecture. And the proposed color of them is a bronze color to kind of match the trim color that's on the architecture. And this is the light fixture that's proposed, that is found with near each of the entry. Landscape-wise, I would say it's a coastal palette, generally between the trees or between the buildings due to limited space. There are king palms proposed, kind of in an irregular pattern, with the exception of along the northerly property line to comply with the city's highway ordinance. Those are Tristania trees to provide a little bit more canopy and screening and filtering of noise and air. And then in certain areas around the buildings, there are espalier calliandras proposed to provide some more vertical landscaping around the buildings. Just scroll over the photos of the plant. And that's the general project. I don't know if we have photos that we can look at for the context.
There are some technical difficulties on the staff computer, so we're going to need to restart it so I can regain access on my end to pull up those photos. But if you want to, should we do that now? Okay, let's see. Oh, no. That's not working. Can you go back? Oh, wait, I think it's back. Can you switch? Can you switch to this stuff?
To the west, this is, I believe it's Cottage Hospital. It's kind of an annex, kind of, I don't know if it's a rehab facility per se, but some kind of ancillary medical kind of use.
Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
to the applicant, I have them pulled up on my screen and I can scroll through if
Yeah, you
you'd
can
like.
just
Okay.
scroll through them. So the first few photos are the parking lot site itself.
Slow down.
So that's the adjacent property to the west. That's the adjacent property to the northwest. They have a 2-story structure at that corner of the property. That's looking down the property towards Bass Street. That is looking back towards the existing building on 302 West Montecito Street. That is looking at the neighbor to the north. That is the neighbor to the north. That's looking back towards the property's frontage on Bass Street with the 302 building. Across Bass Street is a car wash facility. Looking back at the property on Bath. 302 West Montecito Street from Bass Street. That is the southeast corner or the intersection of Montecito and Bath. Further looking down easterly on Montecito Street. That is the property to the south along Montecito Street. That's a little bit further down easterly on Montecito Street. That's the largest structure in the vicinity. 302 West Montecito from the intersection. A little bit further south on Bass Street, beyond the commercial center. That's looking towards the Montecito frontage of the property. That is the property to the west. Further down the property to the west. That is the market that's just beyond the property to the west of our subject parcel. South side of Montecito Street, so that's a little bit further west of the property. Further west along Montecito Street. That's 311 West Montecito Street, where it was approved to be redeveloped with a 2-story apartment structure. That is the market across the street on Montecito. Okey-doke.
All right, thank you. We will open up public comment for item number 1.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I will start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do have a slip from Miss Bonnie Donovan. If you could please approach the podium, you will have 2 minutes to speak.
I'm the property, the cottages, the north side. And I would have attended the first meeting that you guys had on this. What's the matter?
We haven't had.
Can't hear. But we didn't get notifications. The neighborhood is already overparked, and that brown building, they are just now completing the 2 ADUs on the parking lot for that apartment building. And they say because they're within the train station, they could park there. There's going to be 48 cars added to our streets with these 2 projects going. And it was a lot merger. Was it now split back up when the hotel was going to go in? And the parking's not your purview, I know that stuff. I've continually pointed out, and I think, I can't hear you back here, Lonnie, I think you brought up the utilities in the back. And that's just a major concern. It's a gas line and everything. And when they had trucks delivering gravel for the AUDs, the diesel truck, the bumper was pulled off by one of those stoppers right by our gas thing. So that's important for us. 2.5 years ago, when the homeless started a really large fire on the train tracks right by our property, there was no exit from our property for anybody except through the back windows. And I think you brought that up again, that we just need to make sure that they can escape from their windows and be able to get out. So then that brings to the trees that are back there. And how close are they, and how big will they get, and will they drop anything on our roofs causing problems? Will their windows look into our units? Because those are bedrooms. Will they take all the driveways out on Bath and Montecito Street to add more parking since they're not providing any parking at all? And is any mechanical next to our windows, the backside? And I appreciate, I noticed you moved the trash to the center of the property. I asked to make sure it's not on Bass Street. For 45 years, we've been there, and their property trash was picked up on Montecito Street. And they're loud, but you're not going to have a dumpster anymore, right? So it'll be picked up by cans. And where are they going to be taken to, Montecito or Bath?
Pardon the interruption, there's no time remaining, but if you'd like to wrap it up with this final comment, thank you.
You know, I can't hear a word you're saying. Like really quiet, no microphone.
Continue with public comment. Actually, I do not have any further slips for this item, and we did receive a written correspondence from a Miss Mary Turley. And at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Okay, did staff have some things they wanted to say?
Yes, just in response to that public comment letter and the public comment regarding the parking, they are allowed to propose 0 parking pursuant to AB 2097, which is a state law that prohibits the city from imposing parking requirements for certain projects that are within half a mile of a major public transit stop, and they are within half a mile of the train station. And then perhaps the applicant can speak to the specific questions on the trash location and pickups and driveway. But yeah, also addressing the other questions in the public comment letter, they are meeting the bicycle parking requirements. 12 are required. The requirement is 1 covered per unit, and they are providing the 12 covered spaces. And then with the lot merger, that was proposed under the previous application for the hotel project, but no lot merger is a part of this application. And the maximum density allowed on this lot with utilizing state density bonus law is actually 15 units, and they are proposing 12. So they are complying with the density requirements as well. And if the applicant has anything to add in response to the public comment, they can as well. Thank you.
Excuse me, Carly. I do have a hand raised. Does Chair want to allow it?
That's fine. We haven't started anything.
Okay. I do have a hand raised for virtual attendance. So at this time, Miss Natasha Todorovic, if you would like to speak, you will have 2 minutes.
Thank you for that. When you opened it up to public comment, you didn't allow for any Zoom comments. I just want to make that point. For this particular property, we've had a number of properties come up, and the debate goes round and round around these lot mergers. And while I appreciate that this is, 2-story and the applicant is trying to make it fit the neighborhood, there is this creeping expansion of properties around the city, and what used to be abnormal and out of range is becoming more and more normalized. So I really deeply encourage you to think about that density issue. It's going to make things denser. You're in an area that, as Ms. Donovan already said, is overparked. And just because that there's a state law that the applicant can take advantage of doesn't mean that we should allow it. The congestion in neighborhoods, the fact that we don't have really great transportation in a system that's really working very well, makes it so that people are using vehicles, and those vehicles get parked and then overparked. And I don't give them a free get out of jail card. There are a lot of issues that this applicant has to resolve. I think looks like they've gone a long way with it, but there's still a lot more. So please hold their feet to the fire on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that now closes comment on this particular item, so I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Okay, we will close public comment and we will go to questions from the board. Board Member 6, would you like to start?
Thank you, Chair Anderson. First of all, to staff, the property that we approved months ago on the south side of Montecito was that final approval disconnected with any relationship parking-wise with the hotel? It started off with an annex to the hotel, but did that completely, annex to the hotel so they didn't have to have parking? Was that completely separated and approved separately?
Yeah, thank you,
Independent from the
Board
hotel?
Member 6. I'm not familiar with that application, so I would need to confirm, but my understanding is that anything related to this hotel application would be withdrawn if they move forward with this project.
Does anybody remember
Yeah,
whether
I
that?
think what we approved was not an annex to the hotel. It started that way, and then it came back as an AUD project, correct?
It's not AUD because
It's
in the
not AUD.
coastal, but it was 3 standard units and then 1 attached ADU, so 4 units total.
No relationship with the hotel?
No relationship to the
Okay.
hotel.
I just wanted to verify
Yeah,
that.
and,
Thanks.
and then no parking was also proposed on that because it's within the same 2097.
Okay. So what is the status now of the project on 308? Is it being built now?
302, the 2 ADUs.
302, the corner lot,
Yeah, so the 2 ADUs are currently under construction
under
right now.
construction.
Yes.
And the owner owns both of them, correct? Is there any thought to have, and there seems, I don't know, we don't have the site plan for 302 in front of us, but there seems to be some looseness in the site on 302. Was there any thought of having amenities for common areas or more occupant livability on that site that could be utilized by the current project occupants?
Yeah, that was the idea of the site plan of having this ADU be pushed pretty much as far north and this ADU be pushed as far south, was to create a courtyard that could be utilized between the 2 properties. Because that application was just for ADUs, there wasn't a landscape plan or site plan proposed as part of that, but that was the idea.
So if a board member is very concerned about the wiggle room and lack of extra space on this current project, how can one be assured that the space on 302 could be utilized? Is there a plan that shows sidewalks or other means of access between the 2 lots? Is that something that can be shared and shared if it's already planned, or developed if it's not?
Yeah, so I would say there's nothing prepared at this time. It's something that could be developed and come back before the board with. As far as maintaining it in perpetuity, we could record an easement between the 2 properties.
You could?
Yeah, we could record an easement to maintain that.
Then that brings up a question to staff. Can we hold our approval of this contingent upon seeing development connection between the 2?
The project can be continued for project design approval, but an action must be taken by February 11th because
Understand.
that's 60 days from when it was deemed complete.
Okay, very good. So I noticed that there was concern from the neighbor to the north for emergency exiting. Is there a fence? Can you explain that in detail, how you're maintaining that concern? Is there a fence there now, or are you developing a fence there?
No, so there's no fence currently in between the 2 wall segments, so there isn't anything proposed, so it
Okay.
would still be open
So
for
they could-
emergency egress from the windows to go
Great.
to this
Okay.
walkway, and then they could just exit out this gate here.
So on the plans, again, jumping back to this mutual share of 302 and 308, I noticed that on plans anyway, there's a 6-foot-high wood fence between the 2 properties. Did I read that incorrect?
Yeah, there shouldn't be any fencing proposed between the two properties.
Okay, so that's all open, okay, good. Um, I noticed that the bike lockers were narrow bike lockers. There, is there any, my usual concern is that given there's no cars, one of the most important things would be these new heavy-duty electric bikes. Will they fit into these lockers? And given that you're so tight and have narrow lockers, is there any ability to have anything other than an English racing bike in these things?
Well, I'd say the electric bikes, they vary quite a bit in terms of size and width, so it's hard to prescribe a one size fits all to that. The choice to go with the narrow lockers was just to be able to provide a little bit of breathing room between the buildings and the lockers themselves. There is some space in between those, so if we wanted to go to a larger locker, in most instances that could be accommodated. You just won't end up with a little bit of landscape area in between the two.
So it's just a further limitation of the owner's flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. That's my questions.
Board Member Black?
Thank you. So I guess I look at what you've presented, and one thing I think is lacking is some site context in terms of how this project presents itself to the street, both Montecito and Bath, relative to the adjacent properties. And maybe it's more of a comment, but is there a way that you could provide us with an exhibit that shows basically massing and relationships between the proposed buildings and the adjacent buildings, or what's being proposed with these other units, both on the north and then east and west of along Montecito Street?
Yes, we can come back with street
Right now,
elevation.
they're just kind of floating from me.
Yeah, we can come back with street elevations that show each neighboring property,
Yes.
and we can come back with a massing kind of exhibit.
Yes, I think that would be important, particularly, because there's been some concerns expressed about, the relationship with the buildings and the adjacent property, particularly to the north, I guess. So, my only other question is there a transformer that we should be concerned about in terms of what you can see from the street? Or is it buried in the back?
Yeah, we've had our electrician take a look. There's a transformer to the north at the end of Bath Street that they believe there's enough power there to accommodate these.
For the whole project?
Correct.
Okay. Let's see. As part of your I'm sorry. As part of your exhibit, did you show us colors, or at least proposed colors and materials and what have you? I mean, if you're asking for PDA here.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, could you just tell me
Yes.
what's what?
Yeah, so generally the buildings are a white stucco, most likely a smooth trowel. The buildings are the roofing is this kind of variable brown color S-tile, where the owner, they like to do a two-piece starter at the ends, and then they'll kind of vary one pieces here and there in the roof to kind of make it look closer to a two-piece. The downspouts are this bronze color, and the trim, the doors are this red, and the trim is this dark bronze. And we don't have a color palette of it, but the bike lockers were proposed to be a bronze that would kind of mimic this bronze.
Okay. And then just one quick last question. So I think you're proposing a California pepper on the on Bath Street. Is that a city?
It was on the city's list.
Okay. Is it on the list, or is that the city is telling you what to
It
use?
was on the prescribed, yeah, that's what it,
For that particular
for
street?
that particular street.
I understand. Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Board Member Soffern?
No questions.
Board Member Anderson?
So is the if we go back to the site plan, because I know there's no street elevation. So is my understanding is this is a part of a holistic site plan that's being, I guess, permitted separately, or the existing on the right is already in construction, correct?
I would say they're distinctive and separate because on the 302 West Montecito, the existing building was kind of a nondescript horizontal wood siding, comp shingle architecture. That is what the ADUs had to be in order to match that architecture. So this is somewhat a deviation from that, but we felt that it fit better with the context of the neighborhood.
Okay. And so in terms of the site circulation itself, because this is kind of this corner lot, what is driving, because there's a directionality to the stairs, you know, the placement of where the stairs, the walk-up occurs, the second floor. What drives what, you know, whether these units are rotated or mirrored or?
So generally, it was for the second floor access that all had to be made on the common walkway, which coming off of Montecito Street is along the easterly property line. So that is what kind of drove those stairs being accessed from there. And then along the streets, we wanted to have the ground floor have a direct connection to the street to engage it. So those buildings were rotated differently than the ones further back so that the ground floor unit's walkway went directly to the street.
Okay. And you also mentioned, I think, an idea about in terms of open space combining two of these kind of pavilion units versus separating them.
Correct, yeah. So that was the idea of not proposing a property line fence, was to, one, allow a little bit more openness between the two properties since it is quite tight as currently proposed. And the idea of locating the two ADUs on 302 was that this kind of common courtyard, which hasn't been designed, could be utilized between the two properties.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all I have for now.
Okay, I have a couple questions. Do you have the pavement material on your landscape plan?
I believe it's just proposed currently as a natural gray concrete.
Just concrete, okay. Excuse me. And then could you walk us through the adjacencies on building 5 and 6 on the north side between your northern property as far as what is on the ground floor in the rooms? Is that the living space or is that are those bedrooms that face the north?
Yeah, so on this corner here on both buildings, that's going to be the dining room on that corner. And then in this back corner, that is a bedroom. This one, so that's just the living space and kitchen space in the dining room. I'll switch quickly to the floor plans.
Do you happen to know where the windows are on the neighbor property?
I don't. We would have to
Okay.
plot those to respond to kind of Bonnie's
Okay.
concern on that.
Okay.
Yes, you can see here, so the dining and the kitchen living would be facing
Yeah.
the neighbor.
Okay, and then the trees that are proposed between the north property and your project, do those have to be on that side or can they be on the south side of your buildings?
They have to be on the north side to comply with the city's highway ordinance.
Okay, those are my questions. Follow-up questions? Board member 6.
Do you have,
Yes. What?
Forgive me for showing up late, and you may have covered this area already, but I wanted to know more about the trash disposal, if that hasn't been discussed. It's there in the center of the site.
it's been approved by Marburg.
Right, but more than that, does Marburg come to collect the bins, or are the bins taken to the street? Was that covered?
It hasn't necessarily. So, yeah, so the bins would have to be taken to the street. There was
By the occupants or management?
By
or
management.
Not by Marburg?
Yeah, not by Marburg, yeah.
Was there any consideration of moving this out of the center of the complex closer to the street?
There were previous iterations that had it closer to the Bath Street frontage. There were concerns of the neighbor not wanting to have the trash located in that area. So it was revised to a more central location for all the tenants. It does involve a little bit more management. Yeah, that was contemplated in that form.
All right. A minor point, it may be a drawing error, but on your image number 7, this is sheet A 2.10.
Image 7
Are you on 2.10?
should be.
That's it.
That's it. Yes, the overhang over the front door doesn't appear to be consistent in the roof plan to the 2 elevations. I think that's just a drawing error. You can clear that up. And then the other drawing error, let's see. I believe it's on your image number 8, sheet A 211. Yes, it's number 3 there, if you can zoom in on it. This implies, yes, that the pop-out is really where the entry door is, but at the top of the stair, we're seeing a pony wall that would prohibit you from getting to the front door. I think it's just a drawing error.
I would concur.
Okay. I think those are my only questions. Thank you.
One follow-up. Chair Anderson. Let me explore a little further with you. Can we get a site plan? If indeed these are owned by the same property, is there a way to meander the sidewalk so the property line is right in the middle of the property line is right on the sidewalk to equalize the distance of planting along each side of the building, shared with the other buildings on 302?
I would say that's a possibility.
Okay, very good, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Let's move into comments. They're here for project design approval, and we have not seen it before, so this is the first time, so all comments are welcome. Board Member Anderson?
I think there needs to be context. This has been commented already in questions, but to understand the frontage. And I think in terms of the site plan, it does feel like it's a little tight in the kind of alley condition that's being created between the buildings. And I think perhaps it could benefit from kind of ganging these together like was suggested and giving a little more breathing room to the in-between space. I think a lot of this project might kind of come down to that in-between space and the quality of the site circulation and the hardscaping or the landscaping. Putting the trash in where it's currently located seems like a missed opportunity to turn that into some sort of outdoor experience for the occupants. And I think that composing this entire site plan holistically would make sense, even though they're separate projects, in terms of creating more of a kind of courtyard experience. And yeah, the actual architectural expression in terms of the kind of different species of these boxes that we've seen on the elevations, I think needs work. I think it needs to be more specific in the architectural language to what type of precedents you're looking at, what time period maybe if you're imitating a particular historical style. The ziggurat stair was kind of cool, but it also seems kind of like it's contrasting with the other formal language with the hip roof. So I think there's a little bit of kind of ambiguity about what, architectural style this is. And that's it.
Board Member Soffren?
Yeah, I think it'd be great if there could be, just to follow up on that, like a street study that just shows the massing and sort of what it looks like actually when you come onto the property. And I agree with since there's the intention of that outdoor courtyard and the other property to, see if you can record an easement and shift the walkway so you balance everything out and ease the tension there. And then I didn't see any call-outs for light fixtures, but I saw in the elevations that you had light fixtures. So if you can include the specifications for those, that would be appreciated. Thanks.
Board Member Black?
Yeah, I would generally agree with those comments, and I think there's some opportunities that probably should be explored relative to the relationship between the two properties and, to the benefit of the residents. And again, getting back to, I'd really like to see, how these buildings present themselves to the streets relative to the adjacent properties. And that's all.
Vice Chair Whalen?
Thank you, Chair Anderson. My sense is that the project is underparked for the bicycle traffic. I realize there were like a dozen, but it does seem unlikely that that will be enough. And this comes tiered off of the public comment. On many of the buildings, you have a weather shed at the second floor front door, except for building 3. That really needs one. And that was the same one that had the drawing error. I think the project could be greatly enhanced if there were subtle differences between each of these, which you've done in character, the overhangs, especially at the second floor, that could continue with a slightly different palette for every other one, different color on the window mullions, just subtle difference rather than the reiterative, just to keep on going the way you're going. And in general, the designs of the individual buildings are completely acceptable. Where I find it deficient, as others have mentioned, are in the layout, in the site plan, which I think could be energized if there weren't such a rigor held to the linearity. If one or every other building were slightly rotated a couple of degrees just to energize the spaces in between them, because it does get very tight. And as Member Anderson and others have noted, it is regrettable that the central element where people might meet and share their commonality are the trash bins, but perhaps that's just a sign of our times. I don't want to go too deep into that. You might consider putting more of a hard landscape barrier between units 2 and 3, where at the ground floor there's a patio that comes off of the dining room. I'm sure you've considered this in many of the cases where you have buildings windows looking into other windows, and in general, it looks like you've worked that out pretty well. But in that one case, you might want to take a closer look. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Board Member Six?
Yes, thank you. Thank God this is not going to be an hotel on the corner. So that's very positive, and it's, appropriate scale, and this is a movement by far better than what was previously opposed. As far as parking, you know, the public is preaching to this choir member. I hope someday that there'll be a storming of the Bastille because of overcrowded.
That'd be by car.
Yeah, by electric bike. I think that other members have sensed that this is extremely shoehorned, and there's just no flexibility for living on the outdoors. There's no storage inside the units. There's no possible leftover areas for flex of living on the site. So, but it's terribly efficient, and it's low income. So I guess people that live here are going to have to bring nothing bigger than their purses to live here. I do think that the bike issue, as I've said again, is underparked and undersized, and I'm hoping that you would take every effort to share with 302 some of these amenities, needed amenities on the exterior, because it's way too tight in my opinion. Not chair, but board member Anderson, were you considering regrouping? When you said regrouping, are you saying the idea of making floorplex of these to merge one or two of a pair of units into a fourplex? Is that what you're alluding to? Yeah. It would be worth a try, but not a demand. Again, it's way too tight. I think that the weatherproof entries have already been noted. And again, I reiterate that I think before we give this project design approval, we should see more effort in sharing the amenities, exterior and layout with 302.
So my comments would be, I actually support the more cottage feel versus trying to push the buildings together to create more space. I feel like we were very constrained, like has been mentioned, based on all the state laws and regulations, and it is very efficient and meets everything that is required. So I think with some of the comments that have been said, I think it can still be improved. I think maybe rotating the buildings a little, maybe offsetting them some can help with light, air, movement, circulation. I actually don't agree that we should force you to show us what's going on at 302. It's not the property in question. I think, in my opinion, I probably won't be making the motion, so in my opinion, you've told us that that's there for them. That's all we can know. But, and I think details would help. I do think the street elevation would help, and otherwise, I mean, in my opinion, I could give PDA today. So, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll take a stab at it. So would I make Do I need to do the project?
If you think it's ready for
I was gonna
PDA.
make a motion to continue.
Then you don't do that.
So then your options to continue it to a date certain would be January 21st or February 3rd. So to the applicant,
What
if
do
you
you
would
think,
be able to resubmit, we would need materials 1 week in advance.
What do you think's gonna help you out better, Lonnie?
It's from 20th to the 3rd.
21st, it's on a Tuesday due to the holiday.
Let's try for the 21st.
Okay. So can I make a motion to continue the project indefinitely to the 21st of January? And request that when you come back, that you present a street elevation study so we can see how the project interacts with the street. Evaluate and see if it is viable to create an easement between the two properties, which would give you an opportunity to maybe expand, like shift the walkway, the central walkway, and share that between the properties. Explore additional bike parking opportunities. Explore maybe shifting the buildings a little bit, doing a little bit of rotating. I don't think we mentioned it earlier, but potentially study conflict with like the windows with the budding property so that we can ensure that we're doing our best to give everyone as much privacy as possible. Consider seeing if there's another trash option, but not, mandatory. And also update your your call-outs and specifications include exterior light fixtures, any sort of additional details that we'll need for this. Is there anything else that I'm missing?
If I may, I think that there was some conversation about more finesse to the architecture. I don't think that's necessary, and I think we should state that we don't think it needs to be further finessed.
Okay. Maybe explore the possibility of finessing some of the architecture. We don't feel it's required, but it would be appreciated if there could be a little exploration with that. Does that satisfy everyone? Good?
And someone second?
I'll second.
Okay, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
No.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Black,
Yes.
Board Member Board Member Six,
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Chair
Thank you.
Anderson, can you please state your reasons for voting no?
Yes, I thought it could have received project design approval today with those comments. Okay, moving on to item number 2. Continued item in progress review. This is 401 and 409 East Haley Street. Proposal for a new mixed-use development under the city's average unit density incentive program. The project includes a voluntary lot merger of 2 parcels, demolition of existing structures, and construction of a 3-story mixed-use building with 26 residential units and 5,011 square feet of commercial space, including 2,606 square feet of office retail and 4 short-term vacation rentals, 53 ground-level covered parking spaces, and the removal of 20 trees. In progress review requested. Project was granted PDA and development plan approval on June 26, 2023, when the project was last reviewed. Hello, welcome back. You'll have 15 minutes. Anything from staff before they jump in?
No, not really. We do have, I believe we have the minutes from the last meeting if you want to see them. They
That would
did
probably be helpful.
Okay, they did receive PDA, as you mentioned, the compatibility findings were made and the development plan findings were made. So since that time, they've had a couple adjustments that they've made. They can discuss that further, but we just want to get it in front of you now for your comments on the aesthetic appropriateness of those changes to the exterior. And staff does feel an in-progress review is appropriate at this time. It doesn't seem to be too extensive, as opposed to a revised PDA.
Okay.
And here are the minutes pulled up from the June 26, 2023 meeting, and it looks like just the project compatibility findings were made and the development plan findings were made, and then the individual comments for the board members who voted no on the motion.
Okay. So there will be a motion today, but no.
I think we can just, if someone can summarize the comments at the end, similar to a concept review,
Okay.
that would be great. And then probably look for an indefinite continuance to for final approval if you feel that's appropriate.
Okay. All right, well, welcome back. If you can introduce yourself. You have 15 minutes to run us through the changes and updates.
Okay, I'm Kevin Dumaine, project architect with Design Arc Architects.
Derek Eichelberger with Arcadia Studio, landscape architect.
Okay, so as I mentioned, this is in progress. We've been working through the details in the development of this design, and it's been getting refined and taking on all the different code issues. And so where we mostly have some concerns we wanted to run by you prior to final was going to be with the Laguna Street elevation. So way down past all the G sheets, we will get to, here we are. Oops, too far. So the Laguna Street elevation is this one right here. If I can, how do I zoom in?
You can click and then scroll.
Plus at the top, yeah. I'm a Mac. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, there's always that way.
That's the easy one.
Thanks, Richard. All right, so you've got our 2D elevation here, but the big concerns here are on this elevation is we needed to bring the elevator up to the third floor, and we created a lobby. And so we've made this glass element. We've maintained sort of the horizontality of the original design, but we've added in this piece and brought up the elevator shaft. And I did bring a few comparative, like before and after images to help you guys.
It's always good.
I'll give one down here, one here, one over there. So the first sheet you got was the
City TV,
previously
can you
approved
please zoom
design.
in on the picture on the table, please?
Get the eye from the sky. Okay. So on this image, you're seeing the previously approved design. And then if we flip to the next page, you can see the design that we've submitted today here. And over on the left side, you see the sort of the north wing of the project where we've had to bring the elevator up to the third floor, and we've pushed out this elevator lobby, but we've maintained the horizontality of the second floor element. And this was kind of after multiple studies, was what we thought would be kind of the cleanest, most compatible way of doing it with a minimal impact on the massing. And so that was one kind of piece we wanted to present. And then the other portion is then to the right, the front wing. And on that piece, you can see how there's a little bump to the corrugated metal portion of the building.
Use the cursor.
Can I use a pen on your drawing? Go to the next page. Yeah. So this portion here, we need to have the ability to bring that up a little bit higher. And the explanation for that is kind of in this next package. The goal is to keep a little coffee shop operation in that corner space. And unfortunately, the coffee shop needs a hood, and the hoods regrettably get rather large. And so we've studied quite a few different options to how to accommodate this on that roof, because that roof's not all that wide. And so the strategy that we've come up with, maybe go to the section, that little section there. If we can raise that parapet in that area a little bit higher, and then just the very top of this vent will stick slightly above the parapet. So the height of the vent or the parapet will ultimately be directly related to the height of the vent. We just don't have that information for now. We weren't here for the concept. And so by doing this, we can meet all the required code separations from the wall. We can, for the most part, keep it out of sight from the street, and we'll meet the ventilation requirements. And so this is our preferred or recommended way of doing this. We looked at other studies taking up even higher to the upper roofs, but then you're adding quite a bit more massing to the building, and that was not a sort of favorable direction for the project. So we felt that this was a more discreet solution to the screening the vents.
This is the existing.
Correct. So those are really our big two pieces here that we wanted to present to you today. The rest of the set is just really in progress. You see that we're kind of refining it and developing it, solving little issues here and there. And that's pretty much what I wanted to focus on today.
Okay, well then we will open up public comment for item 2.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do have a slip from Mr. Jose Gallegos. If you could please approach the podium, you will have 2 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jose Arturo Gallegos, and I am a native of Santa Barbara. And I do remember what Haley Street used to look like as far back as 59, throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even the 90s when I was a cab driver. Well, it has changed quite a bit since then. First of all, I'm not too happy about the architectural design. I still believe in good Spanish, Mediterranean style architecture. That's what I was so used to seeing growing up here. Also, a lot of Italian stonemasons built a lot of homes, very Mediterranean, as I remember. And I grew up in the East Side. Also, 3 floors. I say that's just a little too high. Maybe 2. Maximum, no more than that. And of course, there's been very controversy about short-term rentals. We need more housing for people that live here. Those in the service industry, the working class folks, and those in the middle income, because something like this is just not going to be affordable to live. And let alone 4 units for short-term rentals, no, that's just not for that area. I do not agree with that at all. Our working class folks, middle class folks, they're getting pushed out because of these kind of projects. And so I'm not happy with the height, the architectural design, and I'm just not happy about the vacation rental units. No, that's got to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do not have any further slips for comment on this particular item, so we will turn our attention to virtual attendance. And at that, we will have Ms. Natasha Todorovic give her comments. I will unmute, and you will have 2 minutes to speak.
Thank you. I understand that this project has been approved, and To those of you who pushed back on it, my deepest, deepest gratitude to you. Santa Barbara is a brand. We have a look, we have a feel, and a brand is a promise of a particular look, a particular feel, a particular experience. And this does not follow that brand. This looks like LA. And did we say like iron or aluminum siding? I mean, we're in a world of climate change, increasing heat. There's nothing about this project that looks like Santa Barbara. It looks like Los Angeles. And when we talk about size, bulk, and scale, how many lots had to come together to make this? And this has been an ongoing thing with ABR, and planning, where they've said, come on, you people have to stop with this assembling of these parcels to make these massive things. It doesn't belong in the area. This area has been 1- and 2-story buildings forever. It's supposed to be compatible, and it does not look compatible at all. And Mr. Gallegos is absolutely right. The short-term rental thing, short-term rentals are pushing out people who are trying to find homes in the area. We have a shortage of apartments. We have a shortage of housing. And the short-term rentals are the kinds of things that are pushing up some of the rental prices, and they're pushing people out. I know there's not a whole lot that you can do with this, but please, please push back on the size, bring it down some, make it look like Santa Barbara, make it feel like Santa Barbara. Stop with this LA warehousing of humans and properties. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at that, we do not have any further comments on virtual attendance, and we did not receive any written correspondence for this particular project. So at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Great, thank you. We will close public comment for item 2 and go to questions from the board. Board Member Anderson, do you have any questions?
Okay, I don't have the whole context of this project, but
Have you reviewed all the videos?
I haven't watched all the videos, just the minutes. So, shall I question? Or?
Board Member Anderson, then you would be allowed to ask questions, but you should not make any comments and abstain from the vote.
Okay, I guess it's hard. Can you go to a site plan, please?
We can also come back if you want to ask questions at the end, too.
It's all right. I'll go now. Or maybe a roof plan or something that, maybe the survey, if it shows the buildings on it. Either a survey or a roof plan. I'm trying to see how the buildings interacting with the whole context. Okay. Or maybe the L1 plan or something. Yeah. There we go. I think I just saw it in there. There you go. It's your A101 maybe? Okay, well, so programmatically, it is a mixed use. What was driving what is the concept of this building, I guess, architecturally? I can see you've got the horizontal banding, the facade cladding that seems to suggest a horizontality to the building, but is there either a particular style or architectural kind of partie behind this?
Keep in mind that our client owns the mill across the street, so there's a little bit of continuity of that. And also along Haley Street, you have this industrial overlay design district, which is even being incorporated into the objective design standards in that map. So there is this precedent along Haley Street. And so the project is kind of working with that tradition And then it's, we've developed a sort of modern design. We've broken up the massing. It steps back, at the third floor. It utilizes roof decks rather than building massing all the way up to the height limit. And it's essentially very efficient, but contemporized and then broken up into smaller masses, facades of an efficient AUD project, over parking.
Okay, can you flip to the A101 so I can see the units? So it looks like a lot of these open directly onto the street in terms of the fenestration. I think, is there a reason why some of the openings are so large? It does feel like it's kind of disproportionate to the
Reminder the project has design approval. Yeah. I mean, this has been through multiple meetings here already. It's had the project design approval. But the idea with these large openings is to give you kind of the double order and break down this, creating a double order to these larger openings, which unite the second and the third floors. It's just, an architectural device.
Board Member Anderson, if you have any further questions, I would focus them in on the changes from the plans that received PDA to the plans that are in front of you today. I think those questions are more concept level review. So let's focus our questions on just the changes since its last review. Thank you.
All right, I don't have any more questions, so.
Board Member Soffren, were you here for this one? Okay.
No questions.
Okay. Board Member Black?
No questions.
Vice Chair Whalen?
Yes, I do have a couple of questions. Ms. Saffel, if you could use your omniscient powers to turn on the overhead camera.
City TV, please zoom in on the pictures on the table, please.
So, Mr. Dumaine, if I understand you correctly, the necessity for the elevator tower has pushed this out further towards Laguna Street? That's the lobby
That's correct.
that you speak of? And you show, this is the elevator override. And just to make sure that Mr. Eichelberger earns his salary here, what are these delightful orange plants on the?
They're proposed as pyrosthesia, proposed as pyrosthesia, the flame vine?
Yes,
Yeah.
very good. And then back to Mr. Dumaine. On this sketch, are you showing us the proposed addition and this little winglet here on top?
That was actually a slightly earlier version, but it'll be taller than the existing parapet by about 3 feet, depending on.
So does this reflect the change or not?
Yes.
It does, okay.
But there's no step.
No step, but the need for the higher parapet at this location.
Right, understood. It's a diagram that's a little bit loose. Those are my only questions. Thank you.
Board Member Six?
Yeah, no, I struggled with this. I think if you we don't need to take time, but your elevations, especially the north court elevation, is not correct. It has the elevator going all the way out and et cetera, et cetera. But if your rendering is accurate, then it makes sense now. I did notice that it seems that the trellises and stair exits to the roof and the gray, what would that be, the balustrade around the open decks has increased a bit. It was nicely snugged down before, but I guess because it's way back there, it's bothersome, but I get it. In regards to increasing the parapet along the west elevation, did you study, is the depth of this absolute minimum to get your clearances around your, I like the step back and the change in material. You probably studied that, given that continuing your metal siding horizontally all the way out to the street and then set back and do your extra height with plaster instead of the vertical metal
That is
siding.
an option we'd studied. This was the preference of the client.
Uh-huh.
We could introduce a horizontal drip edge in there to help articulate that horizontal line a little stronger.
But you can't compress it back further.
Oh, no, unfortunately, that roof is just narrower than it wants to be to accommodate this vent.
Yeah.
So, the key thing is that the top of the vent can be slightly above the parapet
Mm-hmm.
to meet those clearances.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, this horizontal is the minimum, is what you're saying.
We want to be able to get around it.
You do need surface space. I don't have a precise size on that. This is still
Can't be any narrower,
I don't.
and therefore change of material.
When we come back, we'll have more specific detail on that.
Okay, very good. And you're still proposing the same materials and so forth?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay, and just to follow up, we can keep this up here. So the other renderings are looking. Oh, I see. Sorry. Okay. Looking the other direction. Yes. Okay. Well, I guess this will tail on Board Member 6's comment because currently the green wall stops where the existing parapet was, and now your new parapet extends above. So maybe just look at the interaction. Or I guess the question would be, would you continue the green wall all the way up? Would you stop it there? How would you integrate that with the new parapet?
Actually, I think we're going to lose that green wall. By the time you get the ADA ramp up there on the paseo, because we have to drop 18 inches, there is no space really left for a planter. So I don't think I can even make that work.
Can we look at that plan? Do you have that courtyard plan?
Yeah. Well, we've got about 1.5 feet here.
All
can make that
right,
work.
let's do it. Okay.
The vine's back.
The vine is in. Okay. Wow, scared me there. Okay. That's my only question. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Do you have a section through the elevator and the, whatever room that is? I forgot.
Atrium.
Atrium lobby.
Yeah, it's in progress here.
That's all good. I was just curious if there's any space between your corrugated wall and the glass, or if it's directly on top, or if,
Zoom in
not
one more
very
time here.
much at all. 0. Okay.
Yeah, we're bringing up the corrugation, stepping back. Actually, this is slightly out of date. The glazing will come down too where we do the step.
Okay. Okay, any follow-up questions?
Just one,
Oh, yeah.
if, can we look at the plan of that atrium or whatever you call it, lobby?
Get it.
There you are.
Well, it's short of where I wanted to go. It returns right at column line 3, or does it extend out for some reason?
Well, the stairs are a real pretzel, and it just kind of barely
Yeah,
fits.
but the extent vertical up and down sheet of that glass wall, when does it return to the building?
Oh, just beyond the cropping here.
So we have a,
Incorporates the other door.
I'll find you the third floor plan.
oh, there's another door there. Okay, got it. Bingo. All right, thank you. Well, can you do another notch out of the atrium there to reduce the length of the atrium glass at the street by 4 feet? Is that possible, or is that just fussy? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you create a little more of a zigzag circulation inside that space if we do that.
It's only serving one unit. Anyway, it's not a big deal. I'll drop it.
Okay, let's go to comments. In progress review. So, comments on what has changed. Board Member 6.
Well, I don't have any problems with the minor revisions. I prefer to have a change of material at that increased parapet to, get your horizontality back. But I'm still going to vote no because of my previous objections to the contemporariness of this building.
Vice Chair Whalen.
No comments.
Board Member Black.
No comments as well.
Board Member Sofrin.
Good solution.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like it's in keeping with what we've already approved. I think it's great. I think fine-tuning the detailing at the parapet, where the hood is, changing the material is a good solution. We'll make a motion for indefinite continuance back to the full board for final approval.
That would be great if you feel that the project is ready for that. Then,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we feel that, or we don't feel on this board, I'm sorry. The board finds that the plans are in conformance with the project design approval that was previously granted.
Second.
Okay. Let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
No.
Board Member Black,
Yes.
Board Member 6,
No.
Board Member Sovereign,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move on, can the board members who voted no please state why they voted no on the motion?
Certainly, I wanted to remain consistent with my previous review and comments and votes. I don't believe the project meets compatibility guidelines with the Haley-Milpas design guidelines. It's incompatible with the neighborhood size, bulk, scale, and doesn't reflect any of the design qualities associated with Santa Barbara.
I voted no because it's not compatible with the Haley-Milpas design guidelines, and it's be too contemporary expression of any reference to the industrial style stated in the objective design guidelines.
I know. Okay. All right, are we good to keep going? We got one more? Okay. Item number 3, 730 East Coda Street, here for final approval. Proposal to demolish the existing development and construct 2 3-story apartment buildings consisting of 5 units with 5 parking spaces. New landscape and hardscape. Project is proposed under the city's average unit density incentive program with an average unit size of 927 square feet. Final approval is requested. Plans must be in substantial conformance with the plans that received project design approval on May 28th, 2024, when the project was last reviewed. Welcome back.
Okay.
How's it going?
Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Moore, architect for the owner. And
I'm Robert Richards, landscape architect.
all right. The motion from last time around was short and sweet. And
I can pull up those minutes from the last meeting. Yeah, it received project design approval on May 28th, 2024, and the motion stated, I'll pull it up here, that the comment 1, explore the articulation of the blank west wall, and then the project compatibility findings were made.
okay. So really, really what we've been doing is just coordinating with structural, civil, landscape, all the various folks, and no substantive changes to the design, heights, massing, bulk, scale, etc. It's the same project, and we'll, just finessing grading, etc., and landscape. A couple things to point out on our site plan. There we go. Just, I know it's important. This is Nopal Street up here. And it's sort of the lesser of the two streets, sort of traffic-wise. And we have East Coda Street here and Nopal Street here. We've tucked away all of the metering and fire check device back here. We've got, as well as backflow devices for water, domestic water, irrigation, et cetera, are all kind of tucked back here behind our little site wall. That site wall is 42 inches tall. You can see we had to stagger it out to get that backflow to fit within that area. There's the only other real change has been with some grading to get the stormwater to work. So we had to add one riser at the entry point of this unit. Otherwise, everything is pretty much the same. You can flip to the elevations. The elevation in question that the comment was made about was this up here. Zoom in a little bit here. So we have about 1.5 to 2 inches between the property line and the face of this wall. And currently there's a giant tree on the neighboring property right here, and then some other smaller trees that kind of cover this area. And the adjacent property, while being the front building, while being a historic structure, there's a large area in the rear that could potentially be developed, and there's actually currently a big storage shed over here as well that is going to need to be relocated during construction, and this adjacent property owner has asked our client to replace that in kind as well. So that will be coming back in some form up against the side of this building. So really what you're going to be looking at is potentially this zone up here as far as exposed plaster or visible plaster. So we've tried to focus our detailing on this eave right here and create that sense of setback from the third level. And this is where our faux plaster elements can kind of come into their own and really create enough depth and to have some shadow lines and actually look like they were former windows and filled in. So that is that. I'll hand it over to Robert, and he can take you through the landscape updates.
All right, so think the comments were pretty positive regarding the landscape at the last meeting. So what I did was take our concept drawing and further develop it. So here's our irrigation system. I mean, it's all drip irrigated. You got backflow preventer over here hidden up behind the wall, like Kevin was describing. Let's see. Well, okay, so we've got permeable pavers that are in the driveway area, and we're using two different colored permeable pavers to kind of differentiate between the driveway and the more pedestrian-oriented courtyard in here. So in the driveway area, we've got some banding, and we're using the charcoal color. And then for the pedestrian areas, we've got the more tan-colored pavers. Then there's some poured concrete that is specified to match kind of a similar color tone as the pedestrian courtyard here. I've got, through coordination with the arborist, we got 3 jacaranda trees going out here in the parkway, underplanted with cotoneaster. There's some existing trees in this parkway that are going to remain. Most of the planters on this property are very constrained just due to the nature of the development. So I've got kind of in here my hardy plant list of stuff that I find will kind of fit into these, challenging areas. I can walk you through the specific planting if you like, but you're probably familiar with it enough.
Already reviewed it.
And then here's some fun details on the irrigation system. So I'll spare you guys on that, but I think it's in keeping with what was, in the concept that you guys supported. So,
Can you just run us through your details and light fixture?
Sure. So our a couple typical window details. We have more of a flat sill detail with a more square corner. We have our sloped sill. Typical, we have some of these kind of transition pieces throughout the project. So this is that radius there. Here's our little balcony, Juliet. We have, typical eave detail, half round aluminum gutter, painted kind of the oil rub bronze kind of color. And we have our kind of faux chimney detail as well. Kind of the typical things. Here's our typical sconce at the unit entryways. So shielded at the top of the bulb, so it's an LED down fixture. So the lens is up inside here, so it's only down. We have our little kind of half and half detail here with plaster wall and iron top. And our simple site wall here, CMU with plaster over the top. So fairly straightforward, typical Santa Barbara Mediterranean style detailing on this.
Great, thank you. All right, we will open up to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for this particular item, so we will move on to virtual public comment. And I do not at this time have any hands raised for virtual public comment, and we did not receive any written correspondence for this project. So at that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
All right, we will close public comment and go to questions from the board. Board Member 6.
Yes, has staff reviewed this? It just seems, the drawings seem very light for final approval.
Yes, the final approval checklist was submitted and it meets our requirements for a working construction drawing set.
Okay, so mechanical and electrical and everything is included?
I
Maybe
believe
that's to the applicant.
I guess we did not include the mechanical or electrical in this, but do you have a specific question about?
Well, yes, did your mechanical engineer get all your AC units handled and up on the roof?
Yes, so they're all tucked away in our
Okay.
mechanical wells there and there.
That's enough, so that's the real thing,
It's the real deal.
all right? And there was a screen at the faux chimney, is that for what purpose and what does that, is that recessed or what?
Yes, so it's recessed and just
Returns the stucco?
returns the stucco on the interior, just to keep critters out of there, birds,
Okay.
etc.
And then is your wrought iron solid or tubular?
Solid.
Okay, it's not indicated anywhere, is it? If you could add that. And then, I don't understand, can you go to the rakes and eaves detail? I mean, the elevations have a lot of transition between the rake and the eave, and I don't understand how you can go from a plastered, sculptured rake to a flat board eave, and then on the elevations, there's scoop outs and so forth. Wouldn't it be better, Mr. Moore, to just all do it in a molding and rather than introduce this?
I think so. I would agree with that.
And there are different sizes of molding on the elevations, so.
Yes.
Could you see to that?
Yes.
I don't think it would
Yeah,
hold us up, but.
I think that is the intent, is that we would have that radius molding
Yeah.
to come out here. Yeah.
And then you can do your transition to your rakes much more easily and da-da-da.
Yes.
Okay. That was my only question.
Vice Chair Whalen?
One small question. The site walls that disguise the equipment on no pile, we didn't see an elevation of those, but they have the same sort of wiggle top that the others do.
They do. So
In
right here-
character.
Right here. So
Very good. That's the only question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Board Member Black?
Just a quick observation. I thought I saw magnolia on your street tree for Noble. Is that not right? Now is it jacaranda, or did I just misread your schedule?
You know
It
what?
matters to me, but I'm just curious.
It was originally indicated as magnolia, but the arborist has asked that now it's going to be jacaranda to meet the low water use requirements for the city. So I think I put a note on here, whatever tree goes in there, the contractor has to get approval from the street tree arborist. And my understanding is now a jacaranda tree.
You okay with that? It's a big tree.
I agree, and I discussed with Nathan whether it was appropriate to put 3 jacaranda trees there, and that's what he asked for, so I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just an observation.
Does
Thank
seem
you.
like a lot.
I don't think I would specify 3 jacaranda trees to go out there if I had the choice, but that was what he asked for.
All right, thank you.
Board Member Sofferin?
No questions.
Board Member Anderson, have you reviewed everything?
No questions.
Okay. I don't have any questions, so comments are here for final. Board Member 6?
So I would make a motion for final approval with the following comments, that it be specified that the wrought iron on the building would be solid wrought iron, and that the eaves and rakes should be all flared plaster reflecting the variations of sizes and shapes on the elevations.
Can you,
Second.
Board Member 6 and Chair Anderson, can you
Oh.
please add that the plans substantially conform with the plans
Yes.
that received PDA?
Number one comment, the plans substantially conform with the plans of the project design approval. Do we need to do compatibility? No?
No.
Oh, thank God.
All right, let's take a vote.
Was there a second for that?
I second it.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll do vote. Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Abstain.
Board Member Black,
Yes.
Board Member 6,
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign,
Yes.
motion passes.
Sweet. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I don't remember if there's is there an appeal period? Okay, there's a 10-day appeal period. And we can adjourn our meeting for today, January 6th, 2025.